Look at the painted line separating a sidewalk from the street in almost any modern city. On one side, humans on foot. On the other side, heavy 2,000-pound machines moving at lethal speeds. Caught squarely in the middle is a rider balancing on a device that weighs less than a golden retriever. They have two tiny wheels, no seatbelt, and no protective metal cage. This creates an immediate physical dilemma. Do you take your chances in traffic with the cars, or do you retreat to the pedestrian space on the sidewalk? Riders are forced to make this choice in a chaotic environment, navigating a public space where the rules of the road are lagging far behind the vehicles currently using them. Bicycles had over a century of legal precedent and urban integration to establish exactly where they belong. The laws grew up alongside the machines. Electric scooters bypassed that process entirely. In September of 2017, tech startups began quietly dropping hundreds of dockless scooters onto city corners overnight. They let smartphone apps handle the rest, with zero public votes or legislative preparation. Today, that disruption has matured into foundational transit. The United States recorded roughly 65 million shared scooter trips in a single year, with an estimated 1 in 12 American households keeping a private unit in the garage. Because this massive rollout happened overnight, cities were forced to write traffic policy for millions of riders, while the vehicles were already operating on their blocks. From a purely mechanical standpoint, small wheels struggle on pavement. An 8-inch scooter tire will catch violently on a pothole that a standard bicycle wheel would simply roll across. Navigating those bumps becomes terrifying when you are sharing a lane with a vehicle going 35 miles an hour, constantly hoping you stay out of a truck's blind spots. As this chart of e-scooter fatalities shows, the fear of the road is entirely justified. While road accidents happen less frequently than falls, collisions with motor vehicles account for the overwhelming majority of rider deaths. Knowing this, it makes perfect sense why a rider's survival instinct kicks in, prompting them to steer away from the asphalt and escape onto the sidewalk. Stepping over that curb feels like a life-saving decision, but escaping the road does not eliminate the danger. It merely replaces a rare, catastrophic threat with a highly frequent one. The perception that sidewalks are safe completely contradicts hospital records. E-scooter emergency room visits have exploded, climbing past 169,000 visits over a recent 6-year span. We can see exactly what causes these injuries in this breakdown. Being struck by a car accounts for less than 10%. Instead, falls alone, often caused by uneven concrete, cracks, and curbs, make up roughly 80% of all documented incidents. Looking closer, emergency room studies show that close to half of all treated scooter injuries originate specifically from sidewalk riding. When you confine these machines to pedestrian zones, you also get severe spatial bottlenecks. Rental units end up discarded across walkways, creating a tangled physical mess for anyone trying to navigate the block. The concrete path next to the road is a highly active injury zone, where the environment itself constantly tests a rider's balance. Beyond the rider's safety, there is an engineering reality to consider. Sidewalks were built for the speed and braking distance of a walking human, not a motorized platform moving at 15 miles an hour. The people forced to deal with this mismatch never consented to it. A silent scooter is incredibly dangerous to small children and the elderly, and visually impaired residents relying on predictable walkways. Even when stationary, improperly parked scooters act as severe physical obstacles, blocking wheelchair ramps and trapping pedestrians. The competing needs of riders and pedestrians have fractured the legal landscape. One city might fine you $500 for riding on the sidewalk, while a neighboring county expressly permits it. Ultimately, when a rider chooses the sidewalk to avoid traffic, they are taking their own fear of heavy cars and placing that physical risk directly onto vulnerable people on foot. The safety data consistently points to one piece of infrastructure that actually works to protect everyone: a dedicated, physically separated bike lane. This specific lane resolves the conflict. It successfully isolates a 15-mile-per-hour vehicle from both the heavy, lethal cars on the left and the slow-moving humans on the right. The reality, however, is that most city blocks still do not have these dedicated lanes, leaving riders stuck with the original, flawed binary choice. Until the concrete catches up to the technology, navigating a scooter safely requires following a situational hierarchy rather than relying on one universal rule. That hierarchy goes like this. Bike lane first, if it exists. If not, right on the road, staying far right as safely possible. Sidewalk only on last resort, strictly where legal, at walking speed. Beneath all these route choices is a glaring statistic. Across serious injury cases, fewer than 5% of riders were wearing a helmet. Securing that one piece of protective gear does more to determine the severity of an accident than any decision about which surface you ride on. Every time you step onto a scooter, you negotiate who gets to feel safe in public. While city laws slowly catch up, the responsibility to manage that risk rests entirely with you.